Well, I found myself with a little bit of extra time, so I am going to do this lore 24. This will be week 5, heading into February. At the time of recording, this makes me, I don't know, a little less than 2 months late on getting this done. So, anybody who doesn't know, Lore 24 is a project kind of like Dungeon 23 from last year. I try to write a little piece of lore from my Conquest of the Sphere setting each day, and then eventually I try to get around to recording some videos where I read them. I read them in my horrible handwriting sometimes, almost 2 months later. I can barely read what I wrote. This stuff is going to get typed into, I have an ongoing encyclopedia for the setting, so I will be retyping a lot of these entries into there and have retyped some of them already, at which point they will be more legible and I'll try to clean up my English. But in the meantime, you can listen to me blather here. Continuing on from the last stuff, we have day 29. This would be week 5, I believe. That sounds right. The Gain. The newest district of Gervais, the Gain sprawls eastward away from the eastern wall of Gervais. Construction first began 100 years ago as squatter camps began to become permanent. Okay, sure. Many cannot afford to move within the walls of the city, so they end up here, on both banks of the Moabe River. The further east you go, the rougher and more cobbled together things are, ranging from shanty towns to tent villages. Closer to the wall, there are more slums and even some stone buildings. Crime and violence are a plague here. Strange and foreign religions are common. Animals rove the dirty streets. So, yeah, it's a shanty town that's rising out of being a shanty town, although, again, the further away from the city walls you go, the more shanty it becomes. All right, day 30, Bay of a Heck. The water is deep. This is, I mentioned it in here. The water is deep, and the sheltering rocky cliffs are high. This bay was a perfect place to build Gervais, and has served the city well. The river Moabe flows into it, bringing commerce from far inland. Fleets of fishing boats and merchant vessels float in and out of the bay every day. The water of the bay is always cold, even on the hottest summer day. The river Moabe, so I must have been focusing a lot on Gervais and the area around it when I was writing during this time. The river Moabe, flowing from somewhere far, far inland to the east, the river Moabe is the source of great riches for Gervais. Trade goods from faraway lands, travel up and down the river, and with Gervais taking its share in the transaction. The river is known as the Tugis in lands further to the east, or Tugis, depending. All right. Day 1 of February. Green Conquest, a massive military expansion begun by Gervais's Queen Lamili. Sure. This stretched the borders of Gervais north to encompass Aranem, east to Yalema, and south to the vast swamps. Though started by Lamili, the expansion saw its zenith under her grandson Maglam, often called the Shadow Prince. There we go. It was during this era that many eternal institutions and traditions of Gervais have their actual origin. As is typically the case, it always was thus is usually not nearly as old as people seem to think. British royalty and other cultural institutions, the way we celebrate Christmas, all kinds of things like that have always been so, and have only actually been so for 100 years, a couple hundred years, what have you. Anyway, day 2 of February, Croat. This grain is used in the making of coarse bread, often eaten with soup. It is considered a peasant bread. The grain is also popular in the fermenting process of several spirits. It is a hardy plant and one that can be grown even in small pots. This is common in gardens, especially in rooftop communities of the span. On larger farming estates, it's used as a regenerative crop. Trade in it is not vigorous, but ever present. All right, day 3 of February. Karandana, a mountainous region far to the north. This is the land that gave rise to the terrifying Red Cult, or Fellowship of the Sun, as they are also known. The Red Cult created terror among the scattered villages of this region for generations before mysteriously going silent a little under a century ago. Much of the area is a loose confederation of towns, villages, and petty kingdoms. Mining and fur trapping are the largest industries. Okay. And finally, yes, we have the Levinai sickness. This wasting disease is more common in rural areas. Though no doctors understand why that is true, it has to do with a fungus that spreads from certain grains. Though it is easily destroyed during the processing of said grains, the fungus can spread through the air during harvests and may lay dormant in a person's lungs for months. Okay, so that's kind of a weird spread of stuff in that one. All right, that is lore 24 up to the point of the first week of February. I will try to get back to recording some of these. I didn't even think I was going to be able to record this one right now, but I'll try to get back to recording some of these, and I'm going to try to get caught up on recordings so that I'm maybe trying to put them out once a week instead of as often as I can get them out to cram them all out. Anyway, if you are interested in learning anything else about the Conquest of the Sphere setting, you can always read some of the short stories. Check my author page below for the Conquest of the Sphere 4 Tales anthology, where I collect 4 tales of the Conquest of the Sphere, as the title implies. You can also check out my Patreon, where in the past I had a serialized story that told the story of somebody living in Yalema, mentioned in one of these entries, and I have taken a hiatus on, but plan to get back to a serialized story about Ariz, a gentleman who is going to find out a pretty big secret about the setting. And currently on there, as of the time of the recording, I just recently posted the latest chapter that I have finished editing. That is my novel, also set in the Conquest of the Sphere setting, where you can read that book as it's slowly released as I finish editing these chapters on this 3rd major draft. I don't know if it's the final draft, but it's certainly the 3rd major draft, and is the first one where I am feeling at all comfortable allowing people to read along. If you like any of that, check it out. Check out more of the videos on the channel. Take a look at some of my earlier Lore 24. If there's anything you're interested in, let me know. If you have questions about the setting, let me know, and I'll see if I've addressed them or if I will address them. And I'll see what's next in Lore 24 on whatever next video I record for it. Take care, everybody.